Norris. I'm from the Operational Safety section. So I'm a senior weapons trainer for the New South Wales Police. I've been a trainer for about 17 years. So my job is to assist in the design and training, specifically the police shooting training, which I've been doing now for the last couple of years. I also design new equipment for the police. So you can see that some officers are wearing an equipment vest which carries things like capsicum spray, baton, radio, handcuffs on it. So, and also this holster that I'm wearing at the moment, which sits down on my leg, lower than the old style holster. So all this stuff, whilst the police might look like they're turning into stormtroopers or SWAT team guys, I can guarantee it's all about the OH&S. It's all about taking all that weight and the equipment that is or was around their waist and transitioning it to the upper torso on the vest and down onto the leg for the thigh holster. So there's a lot of cops getting injured, and all this new equipment is not about how it looks, it's all about how it works for the police, which puts more police on the street, which is our goal. So back to the training. So the police have a number of tactical options, pieces of equipment, if you like, that we use and have available to us. So those pieces of equipment we can't just use because we feel like. You can't just go, yep, I might use the capsicum spray on this guy because I don't like them. You need to be justified. And that justification is clearly written down and as part of the police training. So not only do they need to know how to use it, say for instance a capsicum spray, to squirt them in the face, make sure they hit that target area, deliver enough of it so they've got some leftover stuff, not too much. Not only do they need to know that, they need to know when they can do it, and all that's critically important. So part of our training, both at the academy, like these guys here do, and out in the field annually, so every cop gets training every year, is to make sure the cops know how to use their tools and also when to use it. It's very important. And you guys expect that. You guys expect the police to be using the things appropriately when they need to. The hard thing about that is when you're dealing with violent offenders and virtually anyone who's wanting to cause you harm, they only think about one thing, and that thing is to harm you or to get away, I guess. So that's all they have to think about. We have to think about, are we justified? Am I using the right technique? Will I get in trouble for this? Do I have to take him to court? Are there any bystanders around? They don't think of any of that. We have to make that decision in a split second, and generally we're reacting to what they do, so we're behind the 8 ball. So this training is designed to build some skills. It's designed that we try and prepare them as best we can for the scenarios they see on the street, and obviously you can think of thousands of different situations that are all different. So we do our best, and the training still has to be safe but fairly realistic. So we're going to show you a few of the techniques. Initially it'll be the weaponless controls, which is like our self-defense judo type training, and then go into some of the more interesting stuff. So our two officers, obviously one is the police officer and one isn't. The Bundy Rum guy definitely isn't. So what we're going to do is we're going to show you an ankle kick. So you can hear the officer using communication, trying to communicate with the offender. Vital part of all our training. Communication, because our goal is to de-escalate. In this situation, the officer is using a technique called an angle kick, and he's targeting the area on the upper leg on the outside, which is called the perineal nerve area. Anyone had a dead leg? Yep, that's what we're trying to do. It's a dead leg. So we're using our shin and down onto our boot laces to target that area, and we're using it to distract them and to stop their forward momentum. Then we'll be looking at more communication, and then perhaps going to something like capsicum spray, baton, taser perhaps. So we're using these techniques to gain us time, to gain us distance, so we can react. The next technique it's going to show you is a knee strike. That's obviously if the distance is closer. Again, it's a distractionary technique. And what we're doing is using the knee, going into that perineal nerve. There's also another nerve on the inside of the leg called the femoral nerve, and that area is just as hurts just as much, so it's down towards the knee more. So the goal with this is to distract them. It might be the case that you're trying to arrest someone and they try to headbutt you, or they have headbutted you, or you're trying to put on a wrist lock behind their back and they're resisting. So that's the sort of time we'd use that sort of technique. We don't just walk up to someone who hasn't paid a traffic fine and give them a knee strike for good order. Okay, the next one we're going to do is a forearm strike. So we're using the forearm and we're looking at that upper chest area. So if you feel it up on your upper chest area above the, below the collarbone, there's a soft tissue area up there called the brachial plexus tie-in. That's what we're trying to hit there. Again, that will cause a stunning effect, a bit of soreness, give us time, give us distance, and you also saw the officer moving and communicating. We're going to do the next one here is a hammer strike.
Get back! Get back! Get back!
So whilst it looks a little like a punch, it's actually a very deliberate and controlled technique that's striking again in that brachial plexus tie-in area, right on that upper chest, using the hammer part of the fist, because we don't teach police how to punch, and there's a risk that you could damage your wrist if you're not holding your fist correct with a punch. So what we're doing is using the hammer fist allows a smaller officer to deliver a blow against someone who's bigger. So the next one we're going to show you is a couple of baton strikes. So the officer has what is called the long baton. That's kept in the cars. There's also a shorter, expandable baton which the officers carry on their belt, which expands out 3 times the size, nearly the same length. So you saw that area he was striking, which is again on that lower leg. So a target area is the leg. And if, say, they had a knife in their hand or a piece of timber and they were attacking you, you could strike the arm as the secondary area. So we have that ability to hit the leg or the arm. We definitely aren't aiming to hit the head or anywhere around the torso. It could cause quite a serious injury. So again, a defensive technique, a defensive weapon. So the next one we're going to go on to is some ground defence. So this has only been introduced as a result of a lot of the people out there watching this Ultimate Fighter championships and that sort of stuff on TV. You see them get down on top of someone in what's called the mount or the high mount, and they're doing the ground and pound. The last thing we want our cops is in that position where they can't access stuff on their belt. So we show them techniques, very simple techniques, that will allow them to get into a position in their guard and then get up and out of there. And then obviously we've got stuff on our belt which is going to allow us to have the advantage. We'll go to something else like capsicum spray or taser to give us the advantage. So well done guys, thank you. What we're going to do now is we're going to demonstrate capsicum spray. So if we were to use real capsicum spray in here, all of us in the front row here would probably cop a fair bit of secondary contamination, which is like the airborne particles, which we'd be all coughing quite a lot. Okay, it's like, I don't know what it's like, but I know when you get it in your face, it's not very nice. So we use an inert substance, which reacts the same. You won't see it squirt out like fly spray, it's a stream. And this stuff has just got a bit of a lemony citrus taste. It's not real nice. There's a mick when you open your mouth. So hopefully we get him when he's yelling and he coughs a bit in the gob, because we don't like him much. So Shane here is our instructor for the day, and he's acting as a safety officer. So he's controlling the training and briefing our officer. So you can see that the sergeant, who is our cop for this one. So that's a great example, as you'd expect from a senior instructor, of what happens. So using communication, trying to get him to settle down, not come forward. He comes forward, delivers the spray to the eyes, exactly the right spot. and then moves, and then communicates. Get on the ground, get on the ground. So the idea is, you don't just spray them and sit back and have a bit of a giggle about it, because it does hurt. Okay, the idea is you need to control them, and that's why we're doing it. We're not doing it to hurt them or anything like that. It's all about control. Spray them, communication, then handcuff them, and then you would be doing things like washing their eyes out with a hose, or getting, the ambulance has those saline solutions so they can irrigate the eyes and look after them. So, textbook, Nigel, well done. So, I'd like to introduce Cuffman. So Cuffman is our friendly neighbourhood training dummy. He's never happy, but he doesn't complain. We use Cuffman as an intermediate, so when we are teaching certain aspects of the training, like the accuracy and the procedural part of what you do after you shoot the taser, reloading and things like that, we use Cuffman because that reduces the risk, say Nigel, having to put the suit on and then have his arm twisted behind his back, handcuffed and those sort of things, and not to mention the probe. So we'll show you a live taser suit in a second. Here it is here, obviously bulky, hot, so we try and use Cuffman whenever we can. So we're just going to run a demonstration here. We've got our instructor ready to go. Everyone's obviously, you can see they're wearing the protective eyewear because they're using the taser. So you'll be looking at controlling them because the cycle lasts for 5 seconds, and whilst it's not much fun being tasered, I can tell you that, we're looking at controlling them because if they're suitably motivated, they could get back up to their feet and the risk is still there. So in that situation, I heard the instructor say, drop the knife, drop the knife. So you've got to use your imagination a bit when we're doing this. We tell them, offender's armed with a knife, you react accordingly. So this is specifically so they can use taser correctly. You can see them doing the post-deployment procedure, which is the wires, the probes and all those sort of things. So very, very critical part of our training to make sure they get the procedural aspects right. Accuracy and communication. So I'm just going to, whilst we're on taser, I'll just show you a few, I just do 3 spark tests. So when we start our shift, this is what we do to make sure the taser's functioning correctly, and then we put one of the cartridges on, and then it allows us to, loud around here, isn't it? Sorry. It allows us to make sure it's working. So I'll just do a couple of spark tests so you can see. So I haven't got a cartridge on this, but if you look right at the end of the yellow piece, you'll see the electricity going across, and that lets us know that it's working correctly. Like I said, this is a procedure we do at the start of every shift to make sure it's functioning right. Obviously, if it doesn't do that, we look at replacing it with one that works. So we're going to run a scenario with our taser role play. You can see this suit's quite bulky, but you need that protection when it's shooting out these probes. We also have special cartridges that reduce the risk in case the probe does go through an area, say around hands and slightly less protected. So this scenario is a 2-on-1 scenario, so we've got both officers, and just before we start I'll show you, we've got them facing this way. What that does, that increases their stress level. So if they're facing out here, they don't know what's behind them, they can't see it, and we do this with the students, so we can't put them in a situation where real offender, real knife, real baseball bat or whatever. So this assists us because they don't know what's going on. They're already under pressure because of training. So their heart's going to be going a little bit, and we're just about to run the scenario, so get going.
Get out of my house! You don't have to be here! Get out! Get out!
So the officers have to react really quickly. That's the beauty of them having to turn around. You might notice that when we go out in pairs, only one officer has a taser. So one officer drew the taser and deployed it as you would, but we also have the other officer. Did anyone see what the guy on this side had out? Yeah, he had his firearm out. Definitely justified because the guy had a knife acting aggressively. Definitely justified. So he, if you like, whilst if he hadn't been rushed at by the offender with a knife, would have been justified in deploying. In effect, he's like the backup for the guy with the taser in case he misses or it doesn't work. So they're acting in pairs. He probably doesn't know that the other guy did that, but he knows he hasn't got a taser on. So it's pretty critical that he does that. And where possible, we like to have officers having a couple of options available in case the situation changes. So that was a good job. Thanks, Bowie. So we're going to go into some simulation scenarios. You see the pistol. So you can see the pistol that's on my waist. It's got a bright blue grip, and all these officers here have got the same pistols. So we can't obviously use real firearms in this training. Far too dangerous, and it's ridiculous to think about. So we use these simulition pistols. So they look like a real pistol, but they actually shoot out small plastic wads that are full of paint. And all you have to really do is wear minimal equipment, so a face mask, some gloves, groin protection, and a bit of impact protection on the chest. And then you can do this training with a firearm that, for all intents and purposes, works exactly the same as your normal firearm. So we're, again, making the situation realistic. So this is a one-on-one scenario. You imagine the police officer is a highway patrol officer working one out. So the offender in this case has a knife, rushes at the cop. He uses his firearm. Obviously he doesn't, like I said, he doesn't have a taser on him. There's an immediate risk to his life, and he's justified in using his firearm. So the instructor, shown there in the fluoro jacket, would talk to him about, were you justified in using your firearm? Then he talks to him about where the hits went. Were they good hits? Because obviously there's no sense in someone being justified if they miss. Okay, so that scenario is done. What we're going to do is a completely different scenario where, you know, the guy's still armed with a knife, but it's completely changed around. So we don't want to give our police scenarios where they have to use their options all the time. We want to give them ones where they have to talk them down and then work out, am I justified? What will I do in this case? So here's a talk down one. So he's talking, he's threatening self-harm here. So the officers won out. So if you had there was two cops there, you have the other one with their firearms still out, because you don't know whether he's got more knives, a gun on him or anything like that. So his goal here obviously is not going to use his firearm on someone who's threatening self-harm with a knife. So but those situations can quickly turn into the case where they have a hatred for police and they'll turn their rage instead of on themselves onto the cops. So he could easily transition and run at the cops. So that's why he had his firearm out, and he was definitely justified in doing that. And then he talked him down, moved him away from the knife, which is really good positioning because you don't want him anywhere near that knife, handcuff them, and then you take them to hospital and have them assessed by a doctor. So we're going to run a scenario that you could come up against. We might put this in a larger scenario, put it at the start, put it at the end, and they have to do a number of other objectives throughout the scenario. So if you like, this is a component of a larger scenario. The firearm you see, the shotgun that the role player has, rest assured it's just a piece of plastic, and it's something we use in training. We have plastic pistols, different things like wrenches and all sorts of things that aren't real. Obviously, if we were to bring a real shotgun into this type of training, makes it realistic, but someone could screw up just one time in 1,000 and put a real live round in there, and then obviously it's danger. So we use these things, and there's definitely no danger by that unless they drop it on your toe. So they've been briefed that they've got a call for an armed hold-up. They come around the corner and they're faced with someone armed.
What's it like?
So you can see in this situation, obviously there was an immediate risk to their life, and the officers both drew their firearms and both fired. So you saw that the offender had their firearm pointed towards the officer on this side, but both officers still shot. So we could not only use our firearm to defend ourselves, we can defend other police officers and also you guys, members of the public, bystanders. So both officers were justified, both officers had good groupings where they hit, is what we're trying to achieve in our training situation. And then they used communication, saw one officer still covering, and then the other officer going in and making sure the firearm's out of the way. So that finishes our scenarios. We've got a little
And I heard, as it were, the noise of thunder. One of the four beasts saying, "Come and see." And I saw, and behold, a white horse.
Oops! I did it again, baby. Yeah!
What led you through the hopelessly tangled underbrush of private security organizations to our door? Stellar word of mouth? Our fine client roster? Those flyers we put up in that public urinal?
Tune in tomorrow. Same bat time, same bat channel.
Bye for now.